Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Clutter Boss, the internet's best, favorite, possibly only decluttering advice. I am Jes Marcy. I am your Clutter Boss host for today. Next week, starting on Monday, we have Clutter Boot Camp. Clutter Boot Camp happens once every 6 weeks. And if you have never done a Clutter Boot Camp before, it is the number one best place to start tackling your clutter. During Clutter Boot Camp, you spend an entire week working with our team. It's 5 days, 5 lessons. You have a private Facebook group, but the lessons happen on Zoom. You do not need to be there live for each lesson. Everything is recorded. You have a lifetime access to all of the recordings. And during the week and during those lessons, we help you figure out, we give you this pathway to actually truly beginning to remove clutter from your house. It is easy. Of course, it's totally judgment free. And the lessons are very different than what you might think they're going to be. So, if you have never done Clutter Bootcamp, highly, highly, highly recommend starting there. It's $10. It is worth every single penny and so much more. If you've done Clutter Bootcamp and you want to do it again to kind of reinvigorate yourself, we have tons of people who do that. So make sure you grab your spot for Clutter Bootcamp, which is starting on Monday, April 1st. I would like your opinion. Is moving clutter and boxes from one room to another always bad? What if sacrificing one room gives you space to declutter and organize other rooms? That is a really good question. That's what we call clutter shuffling, right? So when we move clutter from one spot to another, we're clutter shuffling. The thing about decluttering is that you actually need space to declutter because decluttering is the process of taking co-mingled collections and separating them out to like items. That's what organization is. Decluttering is taking co-mingled collections, separating them out so you can organize them. Organization is the process of putting like items together in one single location so you always know where to put things away and where to look for stuff. So, for example, all of your hairbrushes are together in one single location. All of your forks are together in one single location. Every collection in your house, if you're organized, is stored together, one location for all like items. So when you declutter, you do need space to declutter. It gets worse before it gets better. We call that temporary chaos. You start pulling out everything from your dresser, from different drawers, from closets, party boxes, those boxes where you threw everything into the box before you had a party. I love that term. Somebody in one of our groups coined that. Whatever you call the, the just bins of stuff that you have that are all commingled, you start taking them out and you need to spread that out because you need to sort items. So I do think in that case, it does make some sense to create the space to declutter. And if that means putting all of your clutter into one room and shuffling it there so you have the space to declutter and you have areas that are organized and feel good, I give that a go. But with this really important note, a lot of decluttering is learning to be honest with ourselves. Okay. So one of the biggest parts of decluttering is decluttering our excuses and decluttering our I'm going to do this when you know you're not going to do something. It's just being honest with yourself. It's not only decluttering. Moving forward in your life is about decluttering excuses that are holding you back or decluttering those stories that you tell yourself. So if you say, I'm going to put all of my clutter into one room, and because that'll make it easier to organize. Okay. But don't lie to yourself. Do not lie to yourself. Be honest. If you're never going to declutter when everything is in one room, then maybe that's not the best strategy for you, right? Or if you're somebody who puts it on the calendar, I'm going to do it. I'm staying on top of my tasks. I really mean it, okay. Just, it doesn't matter what you say to anyone else. Know yourself. If you're telling yourself the truth or if you're telling yourself a story and it's not really going to happen. So just be honest with yourself and declutter any stories that are not serving you right now. I have a problem getting rid of excess anything because I think that as soon as I let go of it, I'm going to need it. And the clutter is keeping me from enjoying my home. Um, yeah. So let's talk about how we make decisions. There's two ways that we can choose to make a decision. Number one, we could be guided by fear. If I throw this out, I'm going to immediately need it. Or number two, we could be guided by faith. And this is not faith in a religious way, it's faith in yourself or faith in the general universe. When I need something, it is going to be available to me. When I need something, even if I've decluttered it, I'm going to figure out a solution because I am a smart person, I am resourceful, and I can figure out a solution when I need it. So, the problem with hanging on to stuff because you're convinced that the second you let go of it, you're going to need it, is that you are making a decision that is rooted in fear. And living in a space where your decisions are guided by fear is a way that we hold ourselves back from moving forward in life. So, can you, instead of thinking about I know, and this is a story also, this I guess this could be all about stories we tell ourselves, right? This is a great story that we tell ourselves. If I let go of this thing, I'm gonna need it as soon as I let it go. That is a story. Declutter that story. How about if I let go of this thing, I am so awesome that when I need it, I am gonna figure it out because I can problem solve like no one else. I can figure out how to move forward. I am resourceful. Nothing is going to hold me back. Not having this thing. Declutter the stories that are no longer serving you because in the end you're left with your stories and a house full of clutter and that can feel really really uncomfortable. Our brains have what's called a negativity bias. So when we think about something from the past, we tend to think about the negatives before we think about the positives. So I love, Susan, that you've only had to replace one item in the 3 years you've been decluttering because oftentimes our brains are going to think about that one item instead of the hundreds or thousands of other items that you have successfully let go of and have not needed, right? This negativity bias, our brains do this because when we lived in a more primal society, we had to remember when bad things happened because it was how we stayed alive. We remembered that if we heard a tree falling, we had to look up and get out of the way because that tree could fall on us, right? We remembered that if we heard an animal growling, we had to run. We don't need to remember the negatives anymore, but our brains still do that because our brains are still optimized to keep us alive. Thank you, brain. That is awesome that you're still doing that. But it is a different world right now. So always focusing on the worst case scenario is just your brain trying to keep you alive in a situation that is not actually relevant to keeping you alive. So you can just say, okay, thank you. I hear that thought. I'm going to do something different anyway. Okay, last question here. I need help organizing my home office. It's a dumping ground for everything, and I know it's impacting my work. Wouldn't it be nice if businesses paid for decluttering, like clutter coaching services for their employees? I bet it would improve productivity across the board. But they don't. So home offices are sort of a funny thing because houses never had home offices in them historically, right? We never worked in our home unless it was homemaking type work. And you didn't need an office for that. It was the kitchen and the laundry room. Uh, but now, so many people are working from home. And even when we have a home office, we tend to think of it as like a bonus room or a multi-purpose room and not just for the function of actually working from home. So the first tip that I have is really think of your home office as a office, not as a area for other things. It's not a multi-purpose room. If you have an actual home office, use it as a home office. If you have a home office in your guest room, two purposes. Make sure that everything in that room is specific to having a guest or home office, right? Don't think about your home or shift your mindset. So you're not thinking about your home office as an area for literally everything to land. Another trap that I see is when people think about their home office as their home like management area. So you have your office, your work stuff, right? Things that you need for your profession. And then you have things that you need for managing your house, like the water bill, the electricity bill, the insurance documents, all the mail that comes in, all the stuff that, all the paperwork that we choose to keep for absolutely no reason. Um, Let go of the paperwork, people. Work office, your professional stuff, and your things that you need to manage your household all commingled together. That can be really problematic. I would recommend actually breaking those apart. So don't have a home office that is for your professional life and also for your the management of your house. Take that collection that is for the management of your house and move it someplace else if you possibly can. Because when you start putting everything for the management of your house into your home office. So you're putting all the mail there. You're putting all these question mark things. What should I do with this? Where should this go? Packages get there, get thrown there. All this other stuff gets mixed in. Think about it separately because they're really two separate functions. And that can definitely help you stay on top of having just your professional home office area with nothing else added into it. How to organize all of my black clothing, black turtlenecks, wool versus cotton versus synthetic, black wool pants, black leggings, all different. That's a really good question. I tend to wear mostly black or dark clothing also. I may not like this answer, but the less that you have, the easier it is to find exactly what you want when you want it. If you have 25 pairs of black leggings, it's going to be really difficult to organize that in any way that is easy to distinguish between the black leggings. Um, and the more work that you have to fold items so that you specifically can see exactly what it is, the harder it's that's a hard to maintain system because you have to spend a lot more time folding and putting away. So number 1, declutter every single thing that you're not wearing, that does not fit you, that you do not like, that feels scratchy, that you just don't love. Get rid of the excess. And then see what is remaining. If the less that you have to organize, the easier it is to figure out what each thing is. I hang almost everything. I hang almost everything too. I think that's actually a great way to see the individual items if you have the space for that. So if you have the space for hanging almost everything, I hang my leggings. I mean, I have a very small wardrobe intentionally because the more I have, the harder it is for me. And I think for most of us. So really narrow down your wardrobe to the essentials as close as you can get to that. If you can hang everything, you're going to be able to see it. That is the best way to see it. Um, and if you have to fold it up and it's complicated, just recognize this is really complicated. And I'm choosing to have, a lot of clothing and all the same color. So that might mean I need to spend a little bit more time in the morning pulling something out and putting it away because it's not what I thought it was going to be. So it might just be that you need to adjust your schedule or your expectations to match the collection. It's really, truly difficult to organize everything that is the same color in a way so you can see it all at once. So you may need to just give yourself more time because that's what that collection dictates. So sometimes expectation management is the answer to clutter. It's not the answer that we want to hear, but it just is how it is. All right. These were great questions today. I am very grateful for everyone who has tuned in. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow our YouTube. We're very close to 6,000 subscribers. You could be the person that pushes us over the edge. So if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And as always, supporting our small business means sharing this content. So if you hit that share button, we are deeply appreciative. Sending so much love and gratitude out to everybody who follows us. You guys are crushing it. I hope to see you in Clutter Bootcamp next week and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your March.